Welcome back to the Tale of Desperauex. We left Desperauex. He had just had his tail chopped off. Miggery Sal was in the kitchen with the cook looking for Desperauex in the pantry. Roscuro, we don't really know yet, but he might be in the kitchen. We don't know. We haven't seen him. So let's go ahead and start in chapter 36. While the mouse slept, Roscuro put his terrible plan into effect. Would you like to hear, my friends, how it all unfolded? The story is not a pretty one. There's violence in it and cruelty, but stories that are not pretty have a certain value too, I suppose. Everything, as you well know, having lived in this world long enough to have figured out a thing or two for yourself, cannot always be sweetness and light. Listen, this is how it happened. First, the rat finished once and for all the job he had started long ago. He chewed through Gregory's rope all the way through it, so that the jailer became lost in the maze of the dungeon. Late at night, when the castle was dark, the serving girl, Miggery Sal, climbed the stairs to the princess's room. In her hand she carried a candle, and in the pockets of her apron were two very ominous things. In the right pocket, hidden in case they should encounter anyone on the stairs, was a rat with a spoon on his head and a cloak of red around his shoulders. In the left pocket was a kitchen knife, the same knife that Miggery Sal had used to cut off the tail of a certain mouse. These were the things: a rat and a knife and a candle that Mig carried with her as she climbed up the stairs. "Gore!" she shouted to the rat. "It's dark, ain't it?" Yes, whispered Roscuro from her pocket. "It is quite dark, my dear." "When I'm princess," began Mig. "Shh," said Roscuro. "May I suggest that you keep your glorious plans of the future to yourself? And may I further suggest that you keep your voice down to a whisper? We are, after all, on a covert mission. Do you know how to whisper, my dear?" "I do," shouted Mig. "Then please," said Roscuro, "please institute this knowledge immediately." "Gore," whispered Mig. "All right. Thank you," said Roscuro. "Do I need to review with you again our plan of action?" "I got it all straight right here in my head," whispered Mig, and she tapped the side of her head with one finger. "How comforting," said Roscuro. "Perhaps, my dear, we should go over it again one more time just to be sure." "Well," said Mig, "we go into the princess's room, and she'll be sleeping and snoozing and snoring, and I will wake her up and show her the knife, and I will say, if you does not want to get hurt, princess, you must come with me." "And you will not hurt her," said Roscuro. "No, I will not, because I want her to live so that she can be my lady in waiting when I become the princess." "Exactly," said Roscuro. "That will be her divine comeuppance." "Gore," whispered Mig. "Yes, her divine comeuppance." Mig had, of course, no idea what the phrase divine comeuppance meant, but she very much liked the sound of it and repeated it over and over to herself until Roscuro said, "And then," continued Mig, "I tells her to get out of her princess bed and come with me on a little journey." "Ha," said Roscuro, "a little journey, that is right. Ha, I love the understatement of that phrase. A little journey. Oh, it will be a little journey, indeed it will." "And then," said Mig, who was now coming to her favorite part of the plan, "we take her to the deep downs, and we gives her some lessons, some long lessons in how to be a serving girl, and we gives me some short lessons in how to be a princess, and when we is all done studying up, we switch places. I gets to be the princess, and she gets to be the maid." Gore! My friends, this is the very plan that Roscuro presented to Mig when he first met her. It was, of course, a ridiculous plan. No one would ever, not for 1 minute, mistake Mig for the princess or princess for Mig. But Miggery Sal, as I pointed out to you before, was Not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And my friends, too, she wanted so desperately to become a princess. She wanted, oh, how she wanted. And it was because of this terrible wanting that she was able to believe in Roscuro's plan with every ounce of her heart. The rat's real plan was, in a way, more simple and more terrible. He intended to take the princess to the deepest, darkest part of the dungeon. He intended to have Mig put chains on the princess's hands and her feet. And he intended to keep the glittering, glowing, laughing princess there in the dark forever. That's a terrible plan. Man, whew. Okay, let's keep going. It's getting crazy. Chapter 37. She was asleep and dreaming of her mother, the queen, who was holding out a spoon to her and saying, "Taste this, my sweet pea. Taste this, my darling, and tell me what you think." The princess leaned forward and sipped some soup from the spoon her mother held out to her. "Oh, Mama," she said, "it's wonderful. It's the best soup I've ever eaten." "Yes," said the queen, "it is wonderful, isn't it? May I have some more?" said the pea. "I gave you a small taste so that you would not forget," said her mother. "I gave you a small taste so that you would remember." "I want more." But as soon as the princess said this, her mother was gone. She disappeared in the bowl, and the soup spoon disappeared along with her. "Lost things," said the pea, "more lost things." And then she heard her name. She turned, happy, thinking that her mother had come back, but the voice was not her mother's. The voice belonged to somebody else, and it was coming from someplace far away, and it was telling her to wake up. Wake up. Pea opened her eyes and saw Miggery Sow standing over her bed, a knife in one hand and a candle in the other. "Mig," she said. "Gore," said Mig softly. "Say it," commanded Roscuro. Mig closed her eyes and shouted her piece. "If you does not want to get hurt, princess, you must come with me." "Whatever for?" said the princess in an annoyed tone. As I've noted before, the princess was not a person who is used to being told what to do. "What are you talking about?" Mig opened her eyes and shouted, "You got to come with me, so after we take some lessons, you take some long lessons, and me take some short ones, together way down in the deep downs, I can be you, and you can be me." "No!" shouted Roscuro from Mig's pocket. "No, no, no, you're doing it wrong." Who said that?" "Your Highness," said Roscuro. And he crawled out of Mig's pocket, made his way up to her shoulder, and situated himself there, laying his tail across her neck, and balanced himself. "Your Highness," he said again. And he raised the spoon slowly off his head and smiled, displaying his mouthful of truly hideous teeth. "I think it would be best if you do as Miggery Sow suggests. She is, as you can quite clearly see, in possession of a knife, a large knife, and she will, if she's pushed, use it." "This is ridiculous," the princess said. "You can't threaten me. I'm a princess." "We," said Roscuro, "are all too aware of the fact what you are. A knife, however, cares nothing for the fact that you are royalty, and you will bleed, I assume, just like any other human." The pea looked at Mig. Mig smiled. The knife glinted in the light of the candle. "Mig," she said, her voice shaking the tiniest bit. "I really do not think," said Roscuro, "that Mig would need much persuasion to use that knife, princess. She's a dangerous individual. She's easily led." "But we're friends," said the pea. "Aren't we, Mig?" "Ah!" said Mig. "Trust me," said Roscuro, "you are not friends, and I think it would be best if you addressed all your communications to me. Princess, I am the one in charge here. Look at me." The pea looked right directly at the rat and at the spoon on his head. Her heart skipped one beat and then two. "Do you know me, princess?" "No," she said, lowering her head. I don't know you." But my friend, she did know him. He was the rat who had fallen in her mother's soup, and he was wearing her dead mother's spoon on his head. The princess kept her head down. She concentrated on containing the rage that was leaping up inside of her Look again, princess, or can you not bear to look? Does it pain your royal sensibilities to let your eyes rest on a rat? Here's a picture of Miggery Sal and Roscuro and Princess P. I don't know you, she said. I'm not afraid to look at you. The P raised her head slowly. Her eyes were defiant. She stared at the rat. Very well, said Roscuro. Have it your way. You do not know me. Nonetheless, you must do as I say, as my friend here has a knife. So get out of bed, princess. We're going to go on a little journey. I'd like if you got dressed in your loveliest gown, the one that you were wearing at a banquet not so long ago. And put on your crown, said Mig. Put on your princess head. Yes, said Roscuro. Please, princess, do not forget your crown. The P, still staring at Roscuro, pushed the covers back and got out of bed. Move quickly, said Roscuro. We must take our little journey while it is still dark and while the rest of the castle sleeps. Ignorant, oh, so ignorant. I am afraid of your fate. The princess took a gown from her closet. Yes, said Roscuro to himself. That is the one, the very one. Look at how it sparkles in the light. How lovely. I will need someone to do my buttons, said the princess. She stepped into the dress. Mig, you must help me. Little princess, said Roscuro, do you think that you can outsmart a rat? Oh, dear Miggery Sal will not lay down her knife, not even for a moment, will you, Miggery Sal? Because that might ruin your chances of becoming a princess someday. Isn't that right? Gore, said Mig. That's right. And so while Mig held the knife pointed in the direction of the princess, the P sat and let the rat crawl over her back, doing her buttons up for her one by one. The princess held very still. The only movement she allowed herself was this. She licked her lips over and over again because she thought that she could taste there the sweet saltiness of the soup that her mother had fed her in her dream. I have not forgotten, Mama, she whispered. I have not forgotten you. I have not forgotten the soup. And with that, we're going to stop there. Miggery Sal, Roscuro, evil plan, Princess P to the dungeon, to the deep downs. I'm worried. But maybe there's a hero out there. Maybe there's a hero waiting to be a hero. We'll see you in the next part. Have a good day.